And that brings me to the conclusion why entry-level jobs are not so much needed right now. A lot of people are using AI in the wrong way. They just don't learn with it. They just, like, my honest advice if you're graduating right now. Hi, I'm Marcel. I'm a medical software engineer / researcher from Munich, Germany. And have you heard that Germany has hundreds of thousands of unfilled jobs, and that university graduates sending out hundreds of applications just to get like 1 or 2 job interviews? And the reason for that, you quite often hear, it's because of AI, and that CEOs think they can replace entry-level workers with artificial intelligence. But let me tell you why I think that explanation is not just wrong, it's even dangerously incomplete. Here's my view. The German public television ZDF recently reported from the Absolventenkongress in Cologne, a large job fair for graduates, young people with excellent grades, master's degrees, media management, computer science, engineering, motivated, ambitious, ready to work, and still stuck. Many of them have been applying for months, some since last autumn. Recruiters tell them the same thing again and again. We found someone with more experience, even in fields that used to be safe, like IT, programming, engineering. Graduates say the market feels tighter than ever. One computer science graduate said that just a few years ago, 10 applications meant 3 or 4 interviews. Today, 200 applications for maybe 1 callback. In this report, some graduates and even managers suggest one reason: artificial intelligence. The logic is simple. If AI can do it in seconds, what used to take a person 5 or 10 hours, why hire juniors? Why train people? Why invest in entry-level workers if a tool can generate text, code, designs, or analysis instantly? And yes, AI has changed productivity for sure. I mean, that part is definitely real. But the conclusions many companies draw from that are where things start to break. If 5 people can do the job before, then now 2 people plus AI can do the same job. So they cut headcount, freeze hiring, especially at the entry level. But here is the problem. They stop at the same job. They never ask the more important question: what more could we do now? But where many companies stop thinking, from my perspective, is 5 people plus AI can do the job of 9. Have you ever thought about that? I mean, doesn't that come up? I mean, you have competitors on the market. And not just like because of working harder or so. I think by working broader, because you can have more experiments, faster iterations, better documentation, more features, more support, more innovation, hopefully. And AI doesn't just replace labor, it amplifies teams. If you still have teams, of course. And companies that understand this don't shrink. I'm convinced by that. I think they outgrow their competitors, or there's potential to outgrow their competitors on the market. If they still like keep the workers plus AI so they can be more productive, work smarter and not harder. So that principle. And I think there's another issue that rarely gets talked about. A lot of people are using AI in the wrong way. They just don't learn with it. They just like prompt stuff and they copy and paste things out of AI, and I think there's no learning curve. I mean, the learning curve is like by getting better in copy and pasting, but you don't learn. So what they're basically doing is like they just outsource the thinking. It's doable and you get more productive maybe, and you get your job done quicker, all good. If you have a bullshit job, in the first place, then go for it. If you have an easier life with that. But where I work, you need to learn weekly. And sometimes I even learn daily, on a daily basis. I learn something new. And I think what people are not doing so much is asking AI the why. Why are you doing this? Yeah, why are you giving me that specific output? And from my perspective, it can be great output, of course, but you're not building any skill with that. So, and how I use AI is I just learn way faster with AI by asking the right questions. And this is something I think is a major issue. If you're not good in requirements engineering, you're not good in prompting, and you even don't like prompting, because lots of people, they really hate AI because it's just about, from their perspective, about images and fake songs, fake images, and they just don't like asking stuff or prompting. Yeah, but if we're good in requirements in engineering and asking the right questions, you're good in prompting, and so you get a better result, of course. And I think software engineering is the best example, because I started programming many years before AI, and I think programming was a huge barrier to get into this field of IT and programming and software engineering, software development and all that. And now I think it's not true anymore, because syntax can easily be written by AI. Yeah, that's for sure. What is important, on the other hand, is requirements engineering, like what is important. Yeah, so what does the customer, the user want, of course, and architecture, of course, to pick the right architecture for your solution you want to provide to solve a real world problem. Yeah, so that's what engineers or software engineers do. They solve real world problems, and that's for sure. Because coding is not the hardest part. Yeah, so the hardest part in software engineering, from my perspective, is the how to build it, what is important, like the tech stack. So what do you want to use, why do you want to use it, what database you want, and does it fit into your framework, and whatever. Yeah, so that's the most important stuff, and I think that's not what you really learn at the university. Yeah, from my experience, what we had was just like network stuff, software engineering, programming languages, JavaScript, Java, PHP, stuff like this. And architecture there was not so much an emphasis on this aspect. And that brings me to the conclusion that why entry-level jobs are not so much needed right now, yeah, especially in software engineering, is because you get this experience in architecture and stuff when you start working. Yeah, but if you're an entry-level worker, you just need, of course, a job to learn all this. Yeah, so I would suggest I would suggest that you learn with AI about anything architecture related. Yeah, so I think that's pretty good, because a junior that already understands basic principles about architecture, putting things together so systems can communicate, backup processes, pipelines, data flows, and stuff like this. I think that's a big plus when you apply for jobs nowadays. And the report also mentions something that is really important from my perspective. Some industries are shrinking while others are growing. Automotive is under pressure, for instance, and yes, the defense industry is growing right now, especially here in Europe. Yeah, which is one of those moments where you think, well, that's not exactly the kind of growth you want to celebrate, right? But because on the one hand, defense is growing, on the other hand, so is the number of people suffering from it. So, and that's not a punchline. I mean, that's reality. Let's face it. And this raises the important question: where do we want to apply technology and talent? Because I work in medical informatics, and our job in this field is to make lives easier for clinicians, for doctors in the hospital, university hospitals, you name it. And what we want to do is, of course, to reduce the clicking. Yeah, to build software that is like an assistant to the clinicians, so they don't have to click and um, touch something, the mouse, the keyboard, whatever. Yeah, so that they can just like focus on the patient, because every minute they can reduce clicking and looking at monitors and stuff, they can spend it on real patients, yeah, and on care. And I think that's very important in our field. So when we as software engineers in the medical informatics domain use AI or even develop AI that makes lives easier for nurses and clinicians, then of course AI is or the work you use AI is well spent. Yeah, absolutely. And that brings me to my honest advice if you're graduating right now. Yeah, because when I look at our institute at the LMU is one of the biggest universities in Germany. We have so many problems to solve. Yeah, on an administrative level. Yeah, so when it comes to paperwork and stuff, yeah, there's lots of room for improvement. When it comes to organizing stuff, process optimization, data pipelines, putting data from here to there, that systems talk to each other, interoperability. Yeah, so in principle, that brings us to the FAIR principles, of course, that data, any data, is findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. So that's the whole spectrum. Yeah. And there in each letter, there is an unlimited amount of problems to be solved. So you should try to apply at the universities. Absolutely. So if you have any more questions, just let me know in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of that, maybe a day in the life of a medical informatics person at the university, solving problems, learning stuff. Yeah, so that's it. See you in the next one. Bye.